Welcome, everyone. My name is Greg Schmidt. Today's main topic is accounts payable automation and how it is changing the landscape of financial operations, offering businesses a way to streamline processes and reduce manual errors. Today, we're going to explore the key factors driving accounts payable automation. And by understanding these key drivers, you'll see why solutions like WebDocs for AP are so impactful to organizations today. From addressing inefficiencies to enhancing compliance and visibility, automation is helping companies transform their AP operations from a reactive manual process to a proactive, streamlined workflow. And as organizations are shifting to more automation of their accounts payable process, there's still a lot of questions about what is driving these changes. So today's agenda is focused on answering what are the key driving factors for accounts payable automation, and also how to overcome barriers of adoption of the accounts payable automation solution, within your organization. So we're going to talk about those, couple areas here today. And then I'm going to finish up talking about the core technology drivers for AP automation and stuff like that. There's a couple different areas from the capture workflow, and then also from the matching workflow and approval workflow process. And then I'll be doing a quick demonstration of the WebDocs AP solution focused on those two main areas, to be able to show like an approver interface, and then also inside the capture process, the verification process inside of there. And then we'll finish up with some Q&A at the end if time permits, but still do please enter your questions into the chat window. And if I do have time, or even if I don't have time, I will still address them and get back to you as well. Today's event is being recorded, and you'll receive a link after the session here today for the recording, and that you can rewatch if you missed something, or if you'd like to share with anyone in the organization that might not have been able to attend today. And again, my name is Greg Schmidt. As a senior solution engineer at Fortra, I bring over 24 years of comprehensive industry experience, specializing in document and forms automation, accounts payable and receivable automation, intelligent document capture, robotic process automation, and also business intelligence. I also have over about 2 decades worth of experience working in the IBMI and report data distribution area with different solutions. And throughout my career, I have been instrumental in helping companies automate their document and data processes, enabling them to, streamline business processes and workflows through strategic planning and technology. My passion really lies in guiding organizations toward best practices in implementation, and also solution expansion, so they're maximizing the efficiency and the impact of the Fortra automation solutions within their strategies. At Fortra, our mission is pretty straightforward. Truly to empower our customers by securing their networks against today's ever-evolving cyber threats, and leveraging automation to optimize IT management, business systems, and crucial processes. So we focus on 2 core areas: cybersecurity and automation. A crucial component of the security and automation suite is our document and forms management suite. The solution enhances business efficiency by streamlining how organizations create, capture, securely manage, and do distribution of their essential documents and forms. And by integrating these capabilities, we help businesses drive greater efficiency and security across all aspects of their organization. Now let's move into those key driving factors of accounts payable automation. And on this slide here, you'll see the first key factor is cost reduction and efficiency. This reduces, it starts to reduce the cost of processing, right? The processing cost. So manual AP processes are often costly because they involve paper invoices, checks, and, employee labor. Automation reduces the cost per invoice process by streamlining the capture and approval workflows. Also, faster invoicing times, with automated systems, you can process invoice in a fraction of the time it takes to manually enter, significantly, speeding up AP processes and improving cash flow management. So automation never sleeps, right? If something comes in at 2 o'clock in the morning, it gets processed at 2 o'clock in the morning. If it needs someone's attention, it can put it into a workflow in basket. So that's a really nice, feature of with automation. The second factor is error reduction and compliance. So minimizing human errors, right? Manual data entry and handling are prone to errors, such as duplicate payments can happen, incorrect coding, or lost invoices, right? Routing things around through email or putting something on someone's desk gets covered up and it gets lost. Automation reduces these errors by relying on consistent rule-based software processes. And it also enhances regulatory compliance. Automation helps ensure compliance, with different tax laws, it's vendor contract terms, and corporate governance by providing a notification workflow along with audit trails and better visibility into the entire process. The third factor that I'm going to talk about now is improve supplier relations, timely payments. And that I think this is a big one, right? Timely payments, because everybody wants their money from that standpoint. But by automating AP, organizations can pay suppliers on time and even take advantage of early pay discounts in some cases. Avoiding late fee payments and penalties is huge, thus fostering stronger supplier relationships. And it might even help you, with negotiating prices and stuff like that, from that standpoint, if you have that good supplier relationship, getting a better deal from them. And the fourth key factor is increased transparency and control. AP automation solutions, provide a real-time dashboard and reports. The data is there to report on from that standpoint, but insights into statuses, right? I need to know where things are at inside of a payment process. I need to see the forecast, right? And maybe potential bottlenecks. How much money is out there that we need to pay, this week or this month, right? What's on a high priority? What are certain statuses that? But the visibility allows for better financial decision making and planning. Stronger fraud prevention is another area. Automated, systems often incorporate features like automated secure approval workflows. Abnormal detections, right? So it checks to see if something's wrong inside of there. Oh, hey, the ship to address is wrong. So when we're looking at that stuff, the fraud protection area is huge because we can actually detect to say, why is the ship to different from what we have in our system? So that's a lot of some of the scams that are going on in the world today. That could be something that gets picked up from there. There's actually PO fraud, the same kind of process like that. But this reduces the risk for fraud and unauthorized payments from the system. So being able to detect some of that information and use the ERP data as the single source of truth in that case. The fifth factor is scalability and growth. Handling growing transaction volumes. Now every company, at certain times of year you're going to scale up or scale down. But as companies scale, manual AP processes become less sustainable, right? They're just not, as you're growing, as people are acquiring companies, it's really hard to sustain a manual process, right? So AP automation allows businesses to handle, a growing number of invoices and payments. So you can scale up and increase, you don't have to increase headcount so much. You can use technology to help your employees actually get more done. From that standpoint, because they're not doing the manual data entry and stuff like that. They're going to be more verifiers instead. The sixth factor is integration with other systems. I always think this is key, right? All ERP systems, like I said, we want to make sure that the data stays there. They're the single source of truth from that standpoint. I think for a successful integration for any integration, for any AP automation, you got to have some way to feed the data to the ERP system. And AP automation platforms need that integration to make it seamless, to be able to hit the general ledger, information. And there might be multiple tools you might be using within the organization, or multiple systems that you might be using that we have to check and stuff like that. So, making the implementation smoother and more cost effective, I think, is huge. Integration can also help with, data sharing across departments. This is huge. Automating, AP automation I know like in our web docs for AP, collaboration with things, right? So being able to workflow things around, or from an ERP application screen, be able to push a function key if it's a green screen, or be able to push a button inside the interface that launches the documents inside the system. So being able to use that information to be able to display it easier in a normal cycle. The next factor is the demand for digital transformation. All organizations today are feeling the pressure to modernize. As companies digitize more processes to stay competitive, AP departments face increased pressure to adopt digital workflows. And automation is a key part of a broader digital transformation strategy to aim to improve business agility and responsiveness to growth, right, and to different kinds of problems that they might face. And also, in your digital transformation strategy, you need to make sure you're thinking about the hybrid work environment, right? Enablement of that hybrid worker, and shift with all the stuff going on over the years, and even today, right? And being able to, with different locations and stuff like that, being able to have that into your strategy to be able to say, hey, I need this to be a web-based interface. I need this to, because that's easier for us to manage, right, inside of there. So being able to, help your financial teams and stuff like that to be able to collaborate together no matter where they're at. And the last factor is, environmental and sustainability initiatives, right? Paperless process. Automation reduces the reliance on paper. That's why people are going automated, right, from that standpoint, because we can take digital invoices, we can do digital approvals, digital payments. Now, this also lowers administrative costs, inside of there too, right? Because it supports a sustainable, kind of environment, right? You're not printing, you're not doing certain things like that. But these factors collectively drive organizations to automate their AP processes to remain competitive, increase efficiencies, and improve financial accuracy. Now let's look at some of the interesting accounts payable automation stats that AP automation has given some organizations, over the years. Under the efficiency gain category, 60 to 80% faster invoice processing times, reduction of process time from 20 days to 3 to 5 days. Cost saving side, we look at 60 to 80% reduction in processing costs. And then from $15 to $20 per invoice down to $2 to $5 per invoice for processing. So those are huge. Error reduction, up to 90% fewer, manual errors or errors that are coming into the system. 98% reduction in duplicate payments. I think that's even higher at that point. So like in systems like the web docs for AP, you're going to reduce it. If everything's going through automation in that case, it's going to have detection inside of there to be able to pick those all up. Visibility and control, 75% improved visibility into payment statuses, real-time tracking of liabilities. So they can actually see, what is happening, from the AP side to see what needs to be paid, this week, this month, or in this quarter. And lastly, on the compliance side, 95% improved adherence to regulatory standards. Better audit trails and financial reporting, is needed to drive the business. So that helps that process there. Now, since we talked about some of the key factors, I thought it would be good to also talk about some of the barriers companies are facing and how to overcome the common barriers that you'll run into implementing an AP automation solution. And the first common barrier that we run into is understanding the value of AP automation, just understanding the true value of it. There's still organizations out there that struggle to see the value of automating their accounts payable process because they've been doing it so long manually, and they think that's the only way to do it or only way it can be done. And understanding the value of automation, you first have to understand the human value of automation, or sometimes known as addressing the fear of change. When we talk about automation, one of the biggest barriers we encounter is the misconception that automation is about replacing people with software. In reality, automation is a tool to enhance human potential. It's designed to take over repetitive tasks, allowing your team to focus on more higher value work that requires human insight and creativity. Automation empowers your team to solve problems that technology alone can't, making it making an asset for both productivity and job satisfaction. And by embracing automation, we create a workplace where human talent is directed toward impactful, meaningful work. Here are some of the other common barriers that organizations run into as well. Overcoming budget concerns. Budget limitations are often, a whole business is back from investing in AP automation, even when they know the benefit it will be there long term, right? So focusing on the overall savings and efficiency gains through AP automation can shift, your perspective from an initial investment to a more of a long term benefit, right? So it's just more how you sort of want to pitch that. And also look at ways you can phase in the automation process. Take more of a step approach instead of a jump all in approach. That can help from, a couple different areas from that standpoint, from just a resource standpoint, but also from a budget standpoint. And then next is tackling integration challenges. So so another challenge that we often hear is the concern about integrating a new AP automation solution into the existing software and workflows. So that's where you can sort of with like a solution like WebDocs for AP, we have those different methods to be able to do that integration in there. So that's one of our key things that we talk about in the beginning of the process is what is your ERP system? What capabilities does it have to be able to do that? And we'll talk about that a little bit later on some of the different methods that we have for being able to populate data to the ERP system. Even if you think your ERP system does not have the capability, you'll be surprised with some of the different features that we can offer in our integration packages. But you want to make sure that the solution is offers a robust integration capabilities that translate to a much smoother and a much smoother process for integration capabilities, today and long term. Next is addressing compliance and security concerns. Security and compliance are valid concerns when it comes to adopting any new technology, especially in financial processes. Like our WebDocs for AP automation solution comes with built-in compliance features and security protocols, audit version controls, security mechanisms inside of there for different approvers and stuff like that. User authentication, like I said, audit controls, secure some of the sensitive information. Some of those people might not need that information, available to them. Automation reduces the risk of, again, fraud by limiting the manual handling of invoices. Because again, not everyone might need to see some of that information. And by implementing AP automation, you're not only streamlining your process, but you're enhancing the security and compliance of the whole organization, and especially the financial operation process. And the next one I think is very important as well is provide the scalability of automation, AP automation, right? Businesses need to know that the solution they choose can grow with them and they can expand within it. But also having a solution that might start out smaller and then grow into is I think is a big part as well into the process. All right, before I jump into the technology shaping AP automation, I want to bring up something that is always asked on demos and requirements calls. And that is, why are there different requirements for every AP automation company or for anyone looking to implement AP automation? I thought this would be a great topic to touch on in the webinar and give it some clarity in this case here. But when it comes to accounts payable automation, each company has similarities on the way documents come into the organization, but they might differ on the level of automation they might take to process them. So that's one difference, right? Voucher and payment processes at the end are similar, but it's dependent on the ERP system. But where the true differences are at is in the center or core process, the workflows and the processes. So inside of here, if you see here on the slide in the middle, the core process it takes to get GL coding done, matching done, the approvals done, and so that really takes a turn where the details at inside of there, and that is why there are different requirements for each company, and why we built our WebDocs for AP solution to have a base or core function, right? But also configurable to every organization's need, is because of that center process inside of there, which might be a little bit different. And what we want to do there too is not always just automate what you're doing. We want to make sure that we're looking at efficiencies in that process too. So looking at your process and say, how many of those steps can we take out with automation? Now let's talk about the technology shaping accounts payable. This is always a fun one, and then we'll get into the demonstration after this. But in the importance of accounts payable automation and its benefits, such as efficiency, reducing manual workload, improved accuracy, and financial operation, is key to AP automation, right? Fortra's WebDocs for AP solution is a robust solution tailored to streamline AP processes. The solution focuses on reducing manual human error and the human intervention to have to enter data into and more turning AP clerks and stuff like that into more of verifiers. So boosting productivity for the whole accounts payable team, and making organizations, accounts payables teams happy, what they're doing. Intelligent workflow starts, with the automation and the capture of documents via email. So we're setting up monitors to scan or monitors to monitor inboxes, email inboxes, scanning folders, to be able to monitor folders and scan information into those folders. We even have the capability within RPA automation bots inside of Fortra to use our RPA technology to monitor websites and portals if we need to. Intelligent document processing workflows, which we'll be talking about in the beginning. That's the automated capture of documents, automation of extraction of documents, capture of documents and extraction of data of documents, and AI-driven kind of technology with our invoice actions capability. And we also have the capability with smart data validation or business rules. So we can use business rules to make the application smarter in those different methods. Documents are then categorized and stored in the system with the data that's extracted off the documents. Within the smart automation process inside of there, when we're using the intelligent document capture process, the intelligence of the system is actually extracting the data and doing the classification process. And then, as you'll see in the demonstration today, sort of that next process is the work approval and matching process workflows. So setting up approval and matching workflows, if your system already has, your ERP system has like not a workflow system, but more of a matching kind of process, right? Matching workflow. We can use that, or we can use our system in conjunction with that. So we can do 2- and 3-way matching processes, so between the purchase order, goods receipts, and invoice process inside of there. We can detect discrepancies early inside of there. Workflows include automated notifications and reminders, so you can notify people and keep everyone up to date on pending tasks that they might have. Using both intelligent capture and the approval and matching workflows within an AP automation process creates a fully automated accounts payable process, reducing manual efforts and improving overall financial accuracy and compliance. And not only that, happy employees. Now here's a little deeper look into the process and technology that makes up intelligent document processing workflow. So this is actually one of the technologies or one of the pieces of the workflow process here. So the first part of this AP automation process, again, is intelligent document processing workflow. And we'll talk about each one of these little areas here as we go through here today. But this one here, the intelligent document processing workflow, is the first stage of WebDocs AP automation, which focuses on automating the capture and the processing of invoices. This workflow integrates seamlessly with existing systems to reduce manual errors, speeds up processing times, and improves overall efficiency in the accounts payable operations. The automated invoice capture process captures invoices, again, from various sources, like I talked about earlier, emails, network folders. You can scan in hard copies. It allows the system to automatically ingest invoices without manual or minimal intervention. This step minimizes the need for physical handling of documents, reduces the risk and error for missing invoices or mishandled invoices. Intelligent OCR technology is in this process is extracting key data points from invoices, such as supplier details, invoice numbers, line items, and amounts. OCR ensures the data is accurate, captured from the so it can be processed further downstream in the process. The intelligent extraction process reduces the burden on IT staff, freeing them up from manual entry of data and allowing them to focus on exceptions and higher value tasks inside the process. Documents are then classified automatically by the system with the intelligence, and then by that we can predefine business rules with the core intelligence to say, and look up information in there too. So for certain vendors, we might want to know payment status and certain things in there. So the classification helps us, organize some of that information inside of there, and definitely helps the extraction process to understand what kind of document it is from there. But it ensures that invoices then are routed correctly to the other parts of the workflow or pushed into the system, so we can reduce bottlenecks and any confusion with inside the company. And as the documents are classified and the data is extracted, database lookup and validations are used to verify data at every step. So we're always going back and forth and doing data validation within our own system, but then also with any ERP data to be able to look up, product information. It could be purchase order information, but this step is crucial in detecting discrepancies before there any further stage of the workflow. And meaning that it could be a discrepancy from could be a variance on a PO. And we could look and say, hey, there's a PO, but this PO amount does not match. So we might look at that as a problem, right? And then route that to a workflow. So there's different things inside of there that we can do to be able to help that. But intelligent document processing workflows leverage automation to reduce the manual data entry, eliminate the errors, and increase processing efficiency. And then flexibility is another thing, right? Accuracy, and then central management of the documents. Now here's a look at WebDoc's intelligent capture solution technology and the layers of automation and intelligence. So there's certain things inside the solution. When I show the live demonstration, so this is where the documents are being OCR'd and everything like that, but there's core technology. The goal is to progressively increase automation levels while training the system to handle more complex scenarios. Like in stage 1, which utilizes base AI and machine learning capability through the invoice actions feature. This stage sets up the foundation by using built-in AI algorithms to produce standard invoices and identify common patterns automatically. In this stage, while the majority of the work is automated, there are still situations where manual verification is needed to handle data extraction errors. This verification process ensures accuracy and it addresses discrepancies. In the initial stage, brings about a significant improvement in automation, right? So it covers about, I always say 60%, it's probably higher. It could be it's just really dependent on your vendor invoices, but it could be, we've had customers in the 90% from that standpoint. But normally I'm very conservative on numbers on that standpoint, but normally it's about 70% or more of invoice processing tasks can be pushed through the core technology with I'll call it no touch. Stage two of this is more of an interactive stage. So, being able to build on the first stage, right? Saying core technology does this much. Now, the second part is interactive stage, where users can interactively contribute to refining the automation process. This stage enables AP users to train the system using a user-friendly point-and-click interface to adequately capture the header, footer information, and simple line item detail. Users guide the system to better understand specific invoice formats and line item details, creating a more redefined and tailored capture process over time. The system learns from these interactions and adapts to recurring invoice layouts or vendor formats. This stage enhances the level of automation to approximately 75% or higher, right? And I'd say most of the time, again, being more on the conservative side, this is going to be in more of the 90% range after stage two. It builds upon the AI initial capabilities by empowering users to do more of the training, point and click, and make the system smarter and more accurate during that process. And then the third stage in this process is the most advanced phase, right? Allowing power users or technical staffs to create extraction definitions. This stage is particularly essential for processing complex invoices from high volume or troublesome vendors with unique formats or detailed line items. This step is best suited for handling cases where the first two stages had a lower hit rate. Custom definitions ensure that even the most intricate or non-standard invoices are processed accurately. Partial definitions can also be created and integrated with advanced AutoFind, which reduces the need for full comprehensive definitions while still achieving higher accuracy. And the final stage allows organizations to configure to the highest level of data extraction automation, making the system capable of managing a wide range of scenarios with minimal manual intervention. The benefits of the stage implementation approach, such as the gradual increase in automation levels, reduces, there's a big reduction in the manual workload process, right? And the adoption and adaptability, I'll say, to handle complex scenarios. The next type of AP workflow is approval and matching workflows. As this is where the Fortra's WebDocs invoice manager comes in. It's built truly for the ever-changing business and world in mind, right? It is a configurable centralized hub for all captured invoices getting processed and matched to your ERP data. Or if approvals are needed, it routes them interactively or via table-based routing rules for more automation. There are features that allow users to track, review, approve, reject invoice based on the captured data and validation results via a single web browser interface. This allows for central secure archival and control within it enhances visibility, enabling better decision making and streamlining the approval process. WebDocs Invoice Manager maintains detailed security audit trails of all the invoices processing activity, helping organizations stay compliant with financial regulations and enabling easier audits. This level of visibility and traceability not only ensures compliance, but it also builds accountability within the AP process. Now, just really quick here, here are some of the different features within the WebDocs Invoice Manager, like 2- and 3-way matching modules. We have a document repository with the WebDocs system, supporting document viewing capabilities, auto deduplication, GL coding integration, so we can GL code in our forms and use the GL codes from the ERP system. Configurable workflows and business rules. That's a huge part of the process. ERP database integration, allowing for seamless updates and integration with existing ERP systems, ensuring that all data is synchronized and up to date. Web browser based inbox, providing that user friendly interface to be able to get to. Now, these functionalities work together to create a cohesive and highly efficient AP process, reducing errors, minimizing manual tasks, and improving overall workflow efficiency. WebDocs Invoice Manager is more than just an automation tool. It's a configurable AP platform that adapts to your business's evolving needs. With WIM, or WebDocs Manager in this case, you'll hear the word WIM a lot from us, but WebDocs Invoice Manager, you'll gain the flexibility to streamline both PO and non-PO based processing, and while maintaining full control over your AP workflows, approvals, and integrations. All right, and here's just sort of the stages of the AP. So I'll be doing a demo here in just a short amount of time here. Actually, in the next, I'll be doing a short demo here. But this is sort of just to sort of talk about a little bit about what we can do from our standpoint with the WebDocs for AP solution. So we can start with creation of, if you have a system that already creates like a PO and stuff like that, we can start at the capture phase. But if you need something that you need to work through the PO approval process and the creation process, we can do that with our application as well. Most organizations will start with the capture phase, and then the automated capture, the transformation of the data extraction, the verification process, the approval, export, and utilize. So they'll start it usually at the capture phase. But this is a sort of a, like I said, it's a full system that allows us to be able to create the AP automation workflows within inside your organization at every level. All right, I'm going to move on to the live demonstration here. And today's focus is going to be around, day in the life of an AP approver or AP professional, right? And again, it starts with the process of capturing the documents in this process. We're going to go to like a verification station so that's one of the interfaces I'll be showing here today. The verification station, if there's any errors on the documents that need to be corrected. And then we'll talk about the workflow, the WebDocs Invoice Manager and invoices, if it needs approvals, reviews, geocoding, and stuff like that as well. And then we'll go into the process around, the vouchering process. The vouchering process, that we normally see is your normal vouchering process. So we'll feed that normal vouchering process, behind the scenes with the data side. And then the documents are in the repository for lookup purposes, either through our WebDocs web browser interface or through direct integration to your ERP system in those cases. Now the capture process starts with the layer of capture that you're going to do, right? So whatever channel of capture, right? Most organizations are using the first three in this case. So they're using email monitoring, they're using scanning capability, and they're using network folder monitoring capability. But we do have these other channels of capture as well. But once the information is captured off of it, the behind the scenes process picks up, and it's doing this process. So this is what I'll be showing during the demonstration. So we have some documents in the system that they can do auto classification, and then by the classification we can do the extraction process. Or even if a document comes in and we're monitoring an email and it has multiple invoices in a PDF, we can take that information and split them up and do that. And then we're extracting data either at the header, footer, and also line item detail level, validating all that information, and then processing with different kinds of business rules in that process. So we do have those different methods there. Now here's sort of a cycle here that it can go through. So what I'm going to show the day in the life of an AP professional inside the verification station. And then we'll also show that day in the life of an AP professional with inside of what we call the WebDocs Invoice Manager, and then the approval process in there as well. So we'll go through those different areas inside that process. So we'll hit both of those areas from there. All right, so the first part is what we call the verification station. The verification station is going to allow, technically it's only used for documents that have run into some kind of error, right? Some kind of process inside of there. And when we're working with, let me get logged in here. When we're working with first generation invoices like PDFs, and we're monitoring emails and stuff like that, you usually don't have a problem with, you're usually going to have less, I'll call OCR issues, right, in those cases. But this is going to allow a user to be able to, jump into a queue. We can assign them to a certain user if you want to at that point too, but we could also do it more queue-based in this case, like my scenario setup, where you can open up batches of documents to do approval on, or not, I shouldn't say approval on, review on in this case at this step. So this is part of the capture workflow process, and only exception documents would be in here. An exception document would be, okay, I know this is a PO-based invoice process, and it doesn't have a PO. I don't know where to grab the PO at. So this is one where I can train it to get smarter. So you'll see that it actually has all my data inside of here, or a large amount of the data, 90+% of the data. So I can now teach it with the capabilities here to say, learn that information, point and click, and then you'll see it as I click on things, things will go away inside of here. And that's where the learning process comes in. So when I'm done doing that clicking option, we can use the self-learning functions to be able to learn what I just did. Yeah, in this case here, you can also type information in. So if I wanted to come in here and type that information in this case, so if I tab out of that field, you'll see that this one's validated. So it was very quick to go through this process and do that validation on this one. And then I can walk through the different invoices in this case. In this case here, I'm going to break it here and I'm going to show you something here. So this is one where it picked up all the information, but it's a little different format. So in this case, I can actually tell it certain information. I'm going to tell it, hey, this is where to get this information from. I'm going to point and click and tell it. And you'll see as I'm clicking, it's actually validating that information in my database. But this is one where I could do a definition. If this was a large volume vendor, I could do a definition and actually process it that way, or do point and click kind of function like that too. And the next one here is more of a setup and configuration thing, right? So in this case, I'm just using the phone number. In most cases, we would use multiple data points like a phone number and an address to be able to detect some of this information. But if it was something simple like this, where I just needed to select what vendor location it's from, I can actually go to the ERP database to be able to do a lookup and select that, and then process that into the system. So that's what the verification process is used for, is to verify, certain things or train things. So now a lot of that stuff that I did, especially on the line item information and some of that header footer information, that's going to remember that information when I submit this into the batch process. So this is more of that, like I said, the verification station to be able to correct those errors. Now, from the approval process side, now WebDocs does have a workflow capability that we can set up different kinds of workflows for different processes, right? They could be individual workflows, they could be more departmentalized workflow processes with multiple steps. But in this case here, no matter what the workflow is, the WebDocs Invoice Manager is going to be your interface for you to be able to do your approvals and review process. So if you go into the WebDocs Invoice Manager, and I'm an AP clerk in this case, but I might just be an approver, right? So if I log in as an approver, I might just have POs or non-PO ones in there that I have to do, or ones that have variances on them. So this is going to be your inbox. Depending on your security, you're going to see different things in here. But this is going to be where the documents are at for you to be able to process. So if I want to process something in here and look at something, I can click into here and say, yep, okay, these are PO-based ones. It's waiting for certain information. And in my case here, I actually changed my PO number because this one would have automatically matched otherwise. So if I come in here and say, hey, this is the PO number from the drop-down menu, and all these blue buttons over here on the side can be ERP integrated to. So that's a nice feature there to be able to integrate into from that standpoint, is to have that functionality to be able to integrate those buttons directly into your ERP system. But now that I selected my PO, that's now going to the table out there for my ERP system to be able to do the receipt matching function. So I can receipt match that function and then hit the save and exit. And as you'll see here in a few minutes here, one of these is that one is going to disappear from that standpoint because it has been matched, right? So it's going to go through that matching process and then match and remove it from the system then at that point. So we'll see that actually disappear here in a little bit. I think it's a couple minutes here. It takes my system to go through that process. For non-PO invoices or credit memos even, right? We can actually assign credit memos into the non-PO process. So in this case here, if I go into a credit memo, I can process a credit memo, but I might want to say, you know what, I need to process this one here. and I need to enter information into the system. And you'll see here things change depending on your security and what you need to do, right? Submit, approve, reject kind of options. I have some GL coding options that I can GL code inside of here. I also have some interactive routing capability. So if I need to route this to someone for another level of approval, I can do that here as well. So we can handle those different scenarios there during that process. And you'll see here, since I refreshed, that one just left from that standpoint. So it is out of the system and exports the data to the ERP system on the back end. All right, and then for time purposes here, I am going to just pull open one more thing here. I like to talk about the ERP or line of business system integration, right? So we have all those different areas that we can do. Best practice is usually the import process, so exporting an XML for you to be able to import in. We have REST API capability, we have database and staging table capability, and we also have that RPA automation bot capability within inside the Fortra solution. Okay, obviously I ran over time here today, and I apologize. So I'm going to skip questions today. There are some good questions that have came in, and I will respond to them afterwards via email, or one of our sales reps will give you a call here as well from that standpoint. So I apologize, but there's a lot of data here today that we wanted to cover. I just want to say thank you for attending today and going through the key driving factors and talking about the technology and some of the barriers within an AP automation process that you might face. Again, I want to thank everyone for spending the time here today. And if you do have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help you and walk you through your process with you, understand what you're doing today and where we can sort of take you to, right? And sort of what would be involved with that process. And so we're here for you from that standpoint. And again, you will receive a link to the webinar today afterwards, and that you can share with anyone or rewatch. So, and remember, one last thing to remember, and I think I've said this a couple times, not maybe in the same words, but remember, automation is a journey. It's not a destination. So again, phased approaches, help, depending on what your organization's cultures are and stuff like that, we can phase that process in. So again, thank you for your time again, and have a great rest of your day, and have a great rest of your week.